Good morning. Happy Marana, or happy Monday, Marana. Happy Monday, Oro Valley. We're on another episode of Move. I've been out a couple of weeks playing back in the Midwest. If you've seen my Facebook, you know what I've been doing. I've been in Wrigley Field hanging out with the Cubs, enjoying myself with my friend Craig. Got a great episode this morning. Got a real good friend here in the studio with me this morning, Councilman John Officer.
Hey,
how you doing, buddy?
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, glad
new
for you.
Me, and glad to be here.
I was trying to think this morning over the weekend. We've known each other 8, 10, 12 years. Yeah, I don't remember the first time we met, but I've known you, and I know you and I've been buddies a long time.
You know, people that are involved in the town and are here from Marana. That's how we met.
Yeah, I'm sure we met at an event, because that's kind of all I do is work, go to events, and then go home and hang out with my bride. That's kind of it. Hey, you were just telling me off camera as we were getting ready, you just came back from a pretty big event, and you'll have to give me the exact name of it because
it's the League of Cities and Towns of Arizona.
Where was it held this year?
It was in Scottsdale,
okay,
at the Princess Resort up there. Great resort. I mean, they did great because the staff was great. I was able to talk with enough of them that have been there from the beginning, and says, see that berm over there where the CAP? We were building that berm when you guys were leveling off this land, and you got a great place. And they're just doing an upgrade there. They're going to add a whole new conference center out in one of the parking lots and make it double the size of what they have on the same property.
So tell the audience that's pretty much every elected official in the state of Arizona, kind of, isn't it?
Every elected official, there are 91 cities and towns, and with Santan Valley incorporating here just recently, everybody's there from every city and town in Arizona. Just talking with each other about what their difficulties are and the things that they're doing and how they team up with other people to get things done and how they operate. It's a great overall state perspective.
3 days? 3
days, yeah. And they have breakout sessions in the morning, like 3 different sessions there's 3 things at each time period. You can go to whatever you're looking at. And it's very interesting. It's just informative. They all have the same challenges we have, and we've seen how they overcome them. They say how we overcome ours, and we get together and talk about how we do things, and they can do things, but what holds us back, what holds them back, and it's a great camaraderie.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned one of the keynote speakers just a moment ago, and I was having kind of the same thought pattern this morning about what you said this person spoke about.
Yeah, there was a great guy, Bruce Vincent, from Libby, Montana, a logger, and he grew up in the logging industry and everything else, and saw it, wiped out, by, hey, don't cut the trees down, don't do this and that, and they even started planting trees when they went in and cleared way in early 80s, 1980s, and they were planting. Just because they didn't want to leave the land bare. Mm-hmm. And they were trying, and it was a struggle to do that. And the ones that were the bigger companies that could just come in and clear cut and leave and go to the next deal, they were getting bigger and bigger, but this was a family operation, and they kept the little town, and that kept everybody busy. And to this day, they're back at it, and now it's a tourist town, and they're still logging.
Where is that? You said it was your mother's favorite town.
Yeah, my mom grew up. My mom was southern Montana, and this was over in the northwest.
Because I've been through Montana.
In the woods, still in the woods all the time there.
You mentioned something a second ago, and that's something I definitely had on my list, and so we might as well start there. Something that you understand, you've been involved in it for years, something that's talked about often in this region, and that's water. And I know a couple elections ago, that was a really big deal. And I remember coming to you. You've been into water.
I've been around it all my life.
Yeah.
I've been an Arizona native. So.
And I've talked to people like yourself that were local. I talked to state. I talked to federal. It was weird that they all came into my world, and some of them knew you, but certainly, well, most of them did. I can't remember. Remember the guy I told you showed up, and he was from with the feds, and I mentioned you, and you both know.
They were with Bureau. A lot of the guys
known each other
when
for
they
years.
were building CAP. I was involved with, the maintenance. That maintenance is my deal. I maintain things, but as I maintain it, why am I really maintaining this? And so I dig deeper into it. No, this is a water supply for this, or water for that, or this is where that water's going. These are where the rights are, and it's water is. We've made it a man-made problem.
Yeah,
it's a man-made problem.
But the tables just continue.
Here in the Tucson AMA, the tables are rising. I mean,
and you've been
for
here
25 years. I measured water levels for CAP at all the recharge sites, and the water. I just remember when the first time I went out there, I threw the measure down in the hole, and man, this is a 300-foot tape, and I'm at 280, 290, I got 299. And I says, if it goes over 300, I'll be in trouble. But 299 was a reading right at the Santa Cruz River in Marana, Santa Cruz and Sanders. And 25 years later, I just did my job. Went out, measured it, turned the paperwork in, measured it, turned the paperwork in. And all over the state, or all over the system down here, from Green Valley all the way up to Red Rock. And when I retired, the last time I read that meter that was down at 299 was up at 110.
Wow.
So the water level had came up 180 feet, 190
in like
feet.
2 decades, roughly?
In two decades or better.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until I got on the council and thinking more of water and all the controversy that people bring up about water, that Tucson was a leader in it. Tucson was a leader in water savings. They did away with a lot of the grass and everything that we had here, and made Tucson look like where everybody came from. And because they wanted that greenery they left in the snow and come down here in the desert, and they wanted that green. But then Tucson did beat the peak. I can't remember, in the early 90s. And when they were noticing the water issues that were at the time, and just started conserving water, been more respectful of what you do with the water.
Word.
Just being more respectful. You live in the desert.
Yeah.
And I'm water, me, I'm an avid hiker. I like the whole Arizona Trail. And one of the things that I learned out there, Arizona Trail and the trails that it was built on were trails that were already there. And they went from water source to water source in about 20 miles. In a day's travel, there's a water source to water source. But even me, knowing Arizona like I do, I carried way too much water, way more water that I didn't want to run out of water.
Of course.
And one day I did run out of water, and it was a tough day, but it was great. I learned, and you can survive. I did 39 miles. And 25 of that was without water. I just slowed down in one day. But that was just me. I didn't want to walk off trail, a quarter mile to go get water, because the map said there was water there. Yeah. And I'm looking, this was out on the way to the other side of Florence. And I just didn't want to go out of the way, knowing just over the hill was the river. And I had a good filter, so I could filter the dirty water in the river, but there was a water source. I didn't want to go off trail, so I just kept going. That was a learning
39 miles,
lesson.
John. A few years ago, I walked 2,500 miles in a year. My best day, I was nowhere close to 39 miles. Maybe half that on my best day.
Yeah, and the good part about that was a friend of mine was going to meet me that day. And as I'm walking on this ridge, I'm looking down. Man, I'm getting close to town. There's somebody running out here. And I figured there's a local from the Winkleman area out there running the trails, and he's still running, and I'm just slowly going down. It's all downhill for me by then, and I said, I'll make it. And hey, that's my buddy. And he showed up and said, "Hey, John, you got any water, man?" I said, "No, I ran out a couple hours ago." And he says, "No, seriously, you got any water?" And I had a sip in the bottom of a water bottle that I carried from my. And I says, when I'm sitting down and saying I can't make it, that's when I'll drink that. Yeah. but I haven't got to that point yet, so I'm not going to drink it. So I gave it to him, and he says, "No, seriously, John, I need some water." And I says, "Me too." and he said, "Well, so then I talked to him. How are you doing this?" I says, "Just 1 foot at a time, slow breathing, and just keep going." And we walked on into where his family was at, and he had gallon jugs in the car, and I sat there, and between the two of us, we drank 2 gallons of water in about 30 minutes, and replenished everything that we needed. Yeah. But after that, it doesn't bother me to carry extra water no matter where you're going.
Yeah, because you might run into a friend of yours that needs a little water. That's funny. I know more about water than what I thought I'd ever know about, conserving it. And not too long ago, I was at being involved with you guys and being close, and that being a hot topic. And it wasn't the last election, but the previous election, that was a pretty big deal. And I think you guys did a really good job of educating a lot of people, because I don't hear the same conversation taking place now as we did 5-6 years ago. But I was at a Diamondbacks ball game a few weeks ago, and late into the, I'm talking to people around me. Imagine that, John. I'm making friends all over the ballpark. Then I had a guy who was an engineer in over there around San Antonio. I can't remember the name of the town. He told me. I can't remember. It doesn't matter. And about the 8th inning, he looked at me. He goes, I got a crazy question for you. And I'm like, what's that? And he goes, what do you guys do for water around here? And funny you would ask. I actually have an answer for you. And I rattled off the cotton per acre versus the housing per acre. Huge savings. What? Am I wrong? It's like 75%.
75%, yeah.
And then golf courses, and I think this was you that told me this. I'm like, well, golf courses. And you're like, no, Clint, that golf courses typically in Arizona require way less water.
Well, and then that's where we're using a lot of our effluent water, and that they can't use in, or that has to be purified. Mm-hmm. And anytime you purify water, the topic with water is when it gets, we're complaining because we haven't paid much for it, and we're not used to paying for water.
Right.
But we're going to have to clean it up better to be able to utilize the extra water that we do have, like underground water in Buckeye, per se. Just use that as an example. The water underneath, the water's 100 feet, 70 feet below ground, but it's brackish water. They can't utilize it for drinking, and you can only grow certain crops with it. Mm-hmm. So, they've got to come up with this. They've utilized the water that they can to grow what they can, to do what works for them, but it costs money. And throughout the past 15 years, I've been to 4 different desalination plants where they desalinate water from the ocean, and even Clint, they call it desalinate, or the water purification plants for this brackish water. One over in New Mexico, just east of El Paso, and 3 of them in Israel. I got the chance to go over to Israel on a water tour, and that was a couple years ago. Yeah, just a couple years ago. Yeah. Just before the situation they had over there.
I was planning to go because you had talked, you didn't know it, but you kind of talked me in, and I had an opportunity to go, and then that crazy stuff happened. Go ahead, I didn't mean to interrupt.
And that water, their water issues over there are just like ours here. They live in a desert, and they've got good years and bad years, and just like my business, I used to 4th of July. I hope I had half of my customers sprayed by the 4th of July because we were going to get more and more rain, or even get the 4th of July sprayed out. Well, that has shifted in my lifetime to where it doesn't start raining until August.
Yeah.
And monsoons have changed, but we changed it on a calendar. We put a date on it when it's supposed to start and when it's supposed to stop, and it hasn't caught on to that yet. So
certainly not this year. Although I did bring a little home Wednesday. It was raining in Chicago pretty hard, and someone said, hey, bring some of that back. And Wednesday, we were going to church. We had 31 baptisms on Wednesday night. And we're like, are they going to? And I don't live that far, but by the time we got there, it was clean over there. But it was pouring in my yard. And we haven't had rain really. We're way below this year. I mean, I don't know the statistics, but it just feels like we had none. compared to last year. We had a pretty good monsoon, but like you say, it just comes and goes. You might have 3 or 4 or 5 years. It's real wet during the summer. I've noticed it, and it's wet in the holidays too, around Christmas.
Yep.
Typically, and the reason I know that, it blows a lot of those little buttons in my garage, the GPCs or whatever they call them. Get the Christmas lights out, and then it rains.
Yeah.
But we're never going to complain about rain in the desert.
And it just takes a little bit of rain. Just go look, just look outside right now.
Mm-hmm.
You see this little bit of green velvet everywhere.
Yeah,
And I got people calling me, hey, I got, okay, we'll set it up, to go spray for them and take care of it. But it just takes a little bit of water to activate what God has created for us here. We call Mother Nature.
Yeah. Shifting gears a little bit. Man, Marana is just growing like a weed. It's unbelievable when it's now, because I come into Marana this way. We're not growing in here that much. We got a few, this apartment complex back here, and got a little one over here, but nothing like in this area. We're all pretty much built out. But when I go Tangerine, get on the freeway, or Twin Peaks to get on the freeway, and I start coming back this direction, wow. Every time I drive by, there's a new development, there's a new school, what are they building right at the northwest corner of Tangerine and the freeway? That area they're moving out there by just down from the warehouses. Northwest.
Oh, right. Oh, just on the west side of the freeway.
Right on the west side.
That's going to be Shamrock Dairy.
Is that
location.
Where they're building that?
Yes, that's where they're building. It's going to be their main location for Southern Arizona.
That's going to be awesome.
And that's going to cover everything that they do from El Paso to Yuma.
Okay, so everybody that's asked me about what they're building there, they're building Shamrock.
Shamrock, yeah.
Because I knew that was on the
that's on the agenda. You see, that's one of the things that I've been learning over as being on the council, and I knew it even before that, being involved with the town through Parks and Rec and Planning Commission and different things. It takes a lot more time than people. When people hear about it, they think it's going to happen tomorrow. Yeah. Just like yesterday at church, I had people approach me on the Moore Road, interchange, and what about this one, this one, this one? Well, that one, and that one is being worked on. The times work. It's going to happen. I can't give you a date and a time, but it's on paper. We're working on it.
Yep.
And those things, it takes time to do them. More roads. It's a big one that needs to be done. If
but
more
it's
road gets done, it does others.
Realistically, it's
years.
Years.
It's years.
Because we've been talking about Tangerine for a long, primarily since I moved here 20-something years ago, and Marana just got the permit in the last 30 days from ADOT, correct?
Yeah, and it's not like it was just that permit.
Exactly.
There were so many other things that had to be done to apply for that permit.
The railroad being always the bad guy in the middle that slows everything
that's
down.
Like what this guy told us at the conference. You need to get to know them. And I've got a saying that I try not to not like anybody, because then you have to go like them. Because I try to live by an old Abe Lincoln deal that I remember in school.
Yeah.
When you were, this was in grade school, when you're picking friends, and we got a lesson about Abe Lincoln one day, and one of his sayings was, "I don't like that man. I better get to know him better." And that stuck with me, and that's what I try to do. If somebody just gets under but they're going to be here. They're just like me. They love Marana for what Marana is, but they want to see it go a different direction or do something different. I need to get to know that person, and they get to know me. And between that, you understand what needs to be done. And what other people are thinking, but that's.
I think that's why you and I are buddies, because we both. I always use the analogy. I want to build bridges between people. I want to build, I'll build the bridge all the way over if that's what it takes to get. Because I'm a second commandment guy. Love your neighbor as yourself, and there's no asterisk that says. If he's nice to get along with or she's pleasant, it does. There's no qualifier there. So it's like I need to do my best to reach out to people, and quite frankly, that's another thing my mom taught me as well was, hey Clint, when you're working with people or you're living with people, the person that seems to be the most by appearance or reputation, the most difficult to get along with, that's the person you should go try to get along with first. Because if you can do that, then you're setting an example to the rest of hey, this person is maybe not that bad, misunderstood, or maybe just wants to be left alone. Well, that's going to be hard to do if they're around you and me.
Oh, well, it's a good example. We had some people living next door to me, and every morning, this young kid would get up, and he had one of them, a little car that had that loud exhaust pipe, and you'd hear him start it up, and it was right outside our bedroom window. It seemed like, and then take off down the road.
Yeah.
And my wife would just get so mad. And then she would say something to me, and I says, I'm just sitting here laughing.
Yeah.
I was that kid
Yeah.
when I was his age, but I got to drive underneath an underpass of the freeway. And when I would leave the apartment, I would get under, and I just loved hearing that. That was me. I never thought once about all those people that are sleeping.
Yeah.
And then then my wife, she brought it up again, and I says, but you know what? That kid leaves at 4:30 every morning.
To work.
He's going to work somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
He has got a job. He's got a responsibility, and he's doing that.
Yeah.
And and after we had a little conversation like that, there would be nothing said.
Yeah.
I could just still feel it.
Yeah. But, just roll back over, you go to sleep. We actually have that right. I don't know who it is, but we got some kid that lives north of us, and you can hear him. He's loud, and he leaves early.
Yeah.
And after a while, you kind of just get used to it. There he goes, and like you say, about 4:30.
Yeah, for me, I'd look at the clock. Oh, yeah, it's 4:30. He's got to be somewhere by 5 o'clock. He's got a job. He's working.
Yeah. Oh,
I haven't even met the kid.
Yeah, that was me too. That was me. Isn't it amazing how you just? Well, I think Mark Twain said it. And I would say it about my father, my mother, rest their souls, is like they just got so much smarter the older they got. Well, they were always that smart. It's just I kind of wised up to their, and now we're those people.
I still a deal. I don't know, it was 20 years ago, 20, 30 years ago that Hallmark came out with a card or a thought. It says, what do you get the guy when you were 5 years old? He was the greatest guy in the world. And when you were 15, he didn't know diddly squat. Now you're 25, and you're saying, that my dad's pretty smart.
He's a smart guy.
He knew what's going on.
Again, back to Marana. And you know what? As our great buddy Ed Honey used to say all the time about me, he goes, Clint, you live in Marana, you sleep in Oro Valley. And for me, that's kind of like the best of both worlds. Because there's just more. I love Oro Valley, don't get me wrong, but we're built out. When you start talking to people that are there, and I asked them point blank, Bayer and Malini, when they were here a couple of weeks ago, Oro Valley, as we are now, we're 6% is what we have left to develop. We're 94% built out. Marana.
Oh, I don't know the numbers.
I don't know what the percentage, but it can't be half.
I asked for, when I first got on the council, I asked for a map I wanted to put on the wall in my office of who owns what in our boundaries. And they said, okay, yeah, we'll make you one to fit here. And I said, well, what do you? Let me see what you've got. So because they can add different things to it, layers on it, and then put it on there. Right. And I says, well. They rolled out this big, it must be 6 foot by 6 foot.
Yeah.
And I said, that's exactly that. Right, that's fine for me.
Yeah.
And we can make, bigger the better, because I can fill that whole wall.
Yeah.
And it's on my wall.
It's on your wall now.
And all the farm fields, it shows all the farming area and all of the desert area that people are calling open space, and that belongs to somebody.
Yep.
Somebody already owns that, just like you own the property at your house now. Mm-hmm. And it's a developer, it's an individual, somebody owns that, and they have rights to it. They have rights that, that's why they bought it. And since they've been there, they have changed those rights. They've gone through the right processes and procedures to change those rights. And they're just waiting for the timing for them. I can't go tell, hey, you need to start building. We've got some that, hey, you guys need to start building. I said, well, they're just not ready. Yeah. And okay, but we've talked to them. Can you speed it up? Can you do? Well, that's not what we want to do with our property. And then we would like this done in the area, and they've changed over time in some areas, some haven't. But that property belongs to somebody.
Such a big deal.
And that's when, like you said, the farming that looks beautiful. Right now, I look out. Oh, what are they doing now? Now there's cotton out in front. Just a little bit ago, there was wheat. A couple months ago, there was wheat out front of our place. But that wasn't my call, what they planted there, and anything else.
Boy, that field right in front of you. When it does sell, it's going to sell for.
It's been since I've been there.
How many acres is that right in front of you?
Oh, just right in front of me. There's I think it's an 80-acre field, and
then an 80-acre field in front of that, and another 80-acre field in front of that.
And one of the things I come from farming and ranching background. My dad always worked on a farm or a ranch, and I remember riding around with the owners and the people at the time, and they talk about this was me growing up.
Yeah.
So this is 45, 50 years ago, and just listening to the conversation, not being involved like I am in it now. And I remember one old boy, he said, "Yeah, I remember when old so-and-so bought this, he really got raked over the coals from the guy." He says, "Well, you're wanting me to break up my section and just give you half of it.
Yeah.
And then the next guy's going to come in and he's going to take half of what you've got. Right. And then the next guy's going to take half of what you got. And it's going to be like 5 steps. And then you're going to be able to have an acre to build a house on. And there's going to be places they're going to stop at, you got 80 acres. They're going to take half of 40, and then they're going to take that 40 and put a bunch of houses on it and make more money."
Right.
That's, if you could do that at your place now, people would do that, but.
I was talking to somebody the other day, and I don't remember, we were talking, and I always said this again. This was, and I've probably said this to you. I said it to Ed all the time. I'm sure I've said it to you. Marana is not where it's at today because of just luck or happenstance. Marana is where it is today because of great leadership going back long before it became incorporated. And I got to thinking about that kind of this morning on the ride in. I'm thinking, you've had some of the same families. I won't necessarily drop names here right now, but you've had some of the same families in this area for 100 years or close to it. And there's a lot of them. We could start naming names, and you're thinking the same names I am. I come up with like 8 to 10 names right off the top of my head whose families have been here 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 years, right? And they own a lot of property. That's when you could come out here and basically just, it was free for the taking. That's why we're successful, because that same group of people became the first leaders before even incorporating. And then their children became the next group of leaders. I mean, Ed, I can see Ed sitting right in that seat talking about him and his brother digging the first water lines when his parents opened the first water company in Marana in the 50s.
Yeah.
And him and his brother, and I said, that was for 7, 8-year-old kids to dig in this dirt. That was brutal. Because I've tried to dig in this dirt. I'll never do it again. I'll go to home. I'll let somebody else come and dig it or go get a trencher. But that, I think, is one of the reasons why we've been so successful is the town was born and bred with this group of people who their next generation. Am I wrong in this? And we still have that. Because one of the things you think about with Marana's success is we're now at what, 48 years, I think, coming up? 77, right? 48 years. Okay, so we've had a good run as an incorporated town, but we had a good run prior to that, being successful with the water and all that stuff. That's not by accident, John.
No, that was I call it our forefathers.
Yeah.
They thought about what was going on and what they needed. And those people, and what's amazed me over the years of coming into Marana, I came into Marana in 88, 10 years, 11 years after they were incorporated, and just been involved in Marana in just being involved in the community, because that's what you did growing up farming and ranching. And
exactly.
And I've seen the fights amongst those people, but they fought amongst, and there were the petty things. But when you talked about Marana in a whole, boom, you joined together, and you couldn't break that bond that they had to make, no, that's really not going to work for Marana. That's not going to work for what we want out here. And
they put their personalities and they still do. I think that's why Marana is such a unique place. Because here's the difference. And I live in Oro Valley. I mean, I sleep there. The reality of it is we're a little bit older. I think we were 74 or 76. I'm one or the other for sure. So we're 50. We're a couple years older as far as an incorporation. Here's the difference. Pretty much everybody in Oro Valley came from somewhere else from the beginning. There's a few old timers, but the vast majority, including myself, we came from somewhere else. Because you've got a lot of people, even leaders in the community that I respect and care a lot for, have been there 8 years or 10 years or 6 years or 12 years. Unlike Marana, some of these families, again, have been there, if not 100 years, really close to 100 years. And I think that's the biggest difference between the two communities. Long-standing.
Yeah. But we've always, I've always seen, and clear back in the Parks and Recs when I first started with Marana, being involved with Marana was Parks and Recs. We worked alongside and collaborated with Oro Valley's Parks and Rec people. How are you guys doing this? And
they still do. You built that, John.
They get back and forth about how Oro Valley has got its niche of what it does, and Marana's got ours. Yep. But we know we respect each other's abilities and what they can bring to the table, and work with each other to get things done for overall the two communities. Yep. And tying into and like working with the county because we're surrounded by the county and connected to Tucson. We've got to learn to work with them. Yeah. And like I said earlier, Tucson has done a great job on water. They're the forefathers, the people that thought about what needed to be done. And working for CAP, I always told my guys this was 20 years ago. They were worried about wanting to create unions and different things, and because of the water issues. And I says, as long as Tucson had a bigger allotment of water, of CAP water, than any other entity in the state. And over the years, they have leased out a lot of that, but they've kept it and they've utilized what they've, what their water knowledge and acquired land to be able to do recharges and stuff throughout the whole region. Their water portfolio is tremendous.
Yeah, you know a lot about water, and I'm going to ask you a question that I have no answer. I don't have the answer to, but I bet you do, or at least could take a shot at it. Compared to other places in the West, how does Tucson rank as far as water? Are we like at the top?
Tucson is a leader
of the West.
I've worked with guys on the bureau, and one of the guys that used to work for CAP, now he's up working for the other end of the Colorado system. And he says, man, it's a flip. It's a flip whether he wants to come back. His wife loves it up there, so he's going to stay up there. But he'd rather come back down here for work because down here, I'm just using the number. Yeah. You had 10 groups you had to work with on water, on large amounts of water. Up in the Colorado Basin area, he says you got 100 smaller people that have water rights and want to do things with water. So he's got a bigger group that he's trying to get on the same page and work with on things to do with conserving water and just how to utilize water when it's there.
I love that you mentioned just a second ago the cooperation between these two communities over the decades. Because, again, and this is why MOVE exists, really. When we, myself and, kind of like in the middle of all this, living in one, working in the other, seeing both of them, I'm like, we're neighbors. We got a lot of in common, and yet we got totally different. We're two kind of neighbors with two different strengths that we bring to the table. Everything that we are in Oro Valley, you aren't necessarily in Marana, and everything you are in Marana. For example, the numbers we talked about a while ago. How much room do we have to grow in Oro Valley? As it lays right now, we can. 6% is not much unless you repurpose or annex or do some of this other stuff. We're kind of where we are is where we are. You guys in Marana, or we in Marana, because I'm part of this team too. We just got almost like we could grow. Correct me if I'm wrong. I heard a number a few years ago. I think I asked Ed if we were to grow up Marana out all the way as it is right now today. and the population's, it was 22 when I got here. I think it's 60
60 now.
60 to 65 now. How big could Marana be right now as it is? And do you know the number?
No, the number off the top of my head. But it's like 3 times as big as what we got
Yeah,
now.
I think Ed said 250. So we there's a lot more room to grow. Marana or Oral Valley is, I'm gonna round it up, say 50. 10,000 more, we're done as far as we are right now. And then I drive up the freeway. I look on that east side, kind of just to the west of Trico. When they opened that road, you could tell me the name of it. I don't remember the name.
Adonis Road.
Adonis, yeah. Again, last few years driving through there as they started prepping that, there's houses there now, and quite a few. And there's going to be, I've heard up to 6,000
yeah, that's
on that.
going to be.
I mean, we're talking about another town of 25, 30,000 people in that strip right there, right?
Yeah, once it gets built out and taken.
That's unbelievable to watch that, John.
And I look at, when I look at that, I've watched Continental Ranch, or not Continental, I watched Continental Ranch grow because I was down here at Orange Grove and Thornydale and drove through it on the way to work every day and watched that grow. That was, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And it was already 10 years in the making when I got here.
Right.
And so then it took it about another 10 years and it got built out. So there's 20 years. And then the next big thing popped up. You saw Gladden Farms. Gladden Farms 1.
Yes.
That was 20 years to build Gladden Farms 1. And that is mostly just the houses.
Yep.
Housing places for people to live.
Right.
Didn't have all the amenities or the stores to go to.
Right.
Didn't have the places to go. They still came clear into Ina and this area right down here where you're at.
Yep.
And now, I remember when I first got on the council, one of the things we had was a sign ordinance. And they were talking about, realtors had so many signs out there, blah, 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 blah. All the stuff on signs. And we needed to come up with, we just needed something in writing. It'll change over time, but we needed something down. And I remember, now with Mayor Post, he said something back then. He says, "Oh man, I thought we were going to get rid of these signs. Now they're just going to move them between, Gladden 1 to Gladden 2, which is between the freeways. So now you get to drive through the signs just advertising that for the next 20 years while they build all that out. And it's a 20-year time frame of building out a neighborhood and an area like that. So,
it's been less than a year. It was October 16th, I believe, somewhere in the middle of October, when they opened the new Fry's over there.
Yeah.
That was, I remember again, Mayor Ed got up and said, well, this was a overnight 16-year project or 18-year project that had been, Gladden, the new neighbors there were clamoring for that. It took, I could be off a year or two, but it took 15, 16 years from the beginning. And I know that the town of Marana had to kind of keep a little bit of pressure on the situation to pull that off.
Yeah, we talked with the developers and
come on, let's go.
Council members and the staff and everybody talks with developers and they have relationships with them, and over time is, you guys promised us a store and we've been talking to the people about a store, and we can't put a store. We're not in the real estate business.
You're right.
But you guys are, and we've given you the opportunities to do it, but their numbers have changed.
Yeah.
And back in early 2000, I went and got my degree. I figured it was a little tough telling people, you don't go out and get an education when I didn't have one. So I went and got a business degree, and I remember one of our projects was on and because we had some people that worked for Fry's and Safeway, and we said, okay, at what point do you guys put a store in? And in that 1 year period, that was a number that it was hardest to get, was how many households do you have to have within a radius of where that store is going to be. And then I can't remember exactly what the number was. And I said, oh, okay, that makes sense, because if this one's here and that 100%. One's there. And one of the things I learned in that, and the reason they think of, this is Fry's, they do this all over the country.
Right.
And they're not going to build another Fry's in between two Fry's, because, we use that little card that we let them track us with, and we voluntarily give it to them every time we go buy something from them. If they were to lose half of the 85653, just use
Right.
that zip code from this area, because it's closer to that one.
Yeah.
What's it going to do our store that's already here?
Yep.
Do we have enough to still support the store that's already here?
Because
So
those two stores right there, the one at Tangerine and Thornydale, yeah, and that one, it's what, 6 miles?
6 miles, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's a deal that it's a business. And then what I found out once I got on the council, I said, well, and somebody told me a number, that this is what Fry's has to have, and we don't have the housetops in this radius, not even including the county that's close, the neighborhoods that are in the county close by, and we didn't have that new number. I said, no, that wasn't. I just went to school on that, and the number was it. Oh no, it's changed. So they're looking at a bigger number.
Yeah.
And so, so it's going to be years down the road. And I mean, people were always, friends at church and friends that going down to ball games and stuff at the school. Hey, when are they going to do that? I don't know when they're going to do that because we don't have enough house. What do you mean? We got them everywhere.
Yeah.
And, you think families, you think of about a 20-year span of when you have your kids and when you're raising all your kids and all of that, and you need those necessities close by so you can do things. I say it's a 20-year time period for me.
I bet they've got enough housetops now and then some, the way that growth is around there.
Yeah, well, you say that, but you don't see another.
Because it's just unbelievable, the growth in that area.
Yeah, and it's finally.
There's got to be 3 or 4 sections to that, because when you turn at the Fry's, that's all new. This is all new. This is all new. Everywhere you go, it's all new over there. Because when you moved here, there was nothing.
I mean, when I moved here, it was Ina and Thornydale.
Yeah, it
was a busy.
Yeah.
Now it is busy from the freeway to Thornydale, and from Thornydale or from Ina all the way down to Orange Grove.
Well, remember when Cotero? I remember. I mean, this is late '80s, I guess. Late '80s. The only thing on the west side of Cotero on the freeway was the McDonald's. And that little gas station, I believe, was there too, right?
Yeah, I use that McDonald's as that's what some people my gauge of how long before something gets done here.
Yeah.
And I say, when you see a McDonald's, wait 7 years.
Yeah.
That's just a number that I picked.
You know what? I bet you were right.
Because I saw that McDonald's go in, and I said, "Oh, great! I'll be able to swing by there on the way." They didn't open until 6 o'clock, and I had to be to work at 6, so I couldn't even use them. But I remember, oh, great, McDonald's is coming in there. But then it was 6-7 years later, Fry's was built across the river.
I bet you're right. 6 to 7 years.
And like it is out there, I told them out there in Marana, we finally got a McDonald's out here.
Yeah.
So 5 to 7 years, we're going to get a Fry's. Well, it's been about 5-6 years.
Yeah.
They got a Fry's. And that's things that I've watched over the years and seen how,
Because that McDonald's, I believe, I wasn't aware of it till 88, 89, but I believe someone told me that was 85 that was built.
On Cotero.
Yeah, on Cotero. They're just to the west of the freeway.
Yeah, it would have been 89. 89.
Okay. 89. Well, then I was, because I was here in 89. I was in Arizona in 89. And it was mid-90s when they started building Continental Ranch, or early 90s?
No, it was the early 80s.
Early 80s? Did they finish then in 89?
No, they didn't finish. No, they didn't.
But I mean, they finished in the 90s,
They
right?
finished in the 90s, yeah.
Maybe that's where I'm getting those numbers. I lived in Phoenix at the time. Same with the old Marana. I call it Old Marana Road. The only thing there was the Circle K, and I think it's a
Chevron.
Yeah, across the street, and then that little grocery store there.
Grocery store, yeah.
Grocery store, and that
Market's
little
always been
thing
there.
behind there. And that was pretty much, and then a couple of those feed stores were down the road a little ways down there. But the only
that was
thing
the
on
old
that-
neighborhood. That was Circle K, and
That's why
that
we still
before
call it. I still call it Old Marana. It's not Old Marana anymore. It's Marana. Because I used to be that guy and have conversations with some of my buddies that lived and worked in Marana, and I'm like, "What are you guys doing out there with the town hall and all that stuff?" Well, you get 20 years later, That is all grown.
That's all
It's
grown
just
out
all
and-
grown out completely.
Now we're going to have the downtown Marana right there. And
Hey, I'm that
that's
guy
in
that
the
will
making.
raise his hand when I'm wrong and say I was wrong about that. I'll tell you, we'll kind of wrap this up because John, it's almost been an hour. Do you believe that? This is one I wasn't so much against this thing happening. It's just the price tag was really hefty and it continued to grow. I won't even mention the price tag anymore because it's big. But I'm going to go on record saying I was wrong about this. And I'm talking about the mark.
Oh, that is
I was wrong. I'm sorry. I doubted you.
remarkable, isn't
It's
it?
unbelievable.
That is something, I was on the Parks and Rec Commission years ago when we were working on our 10 and 20 year plan.
Yep.
And we had a guy come in, we came up with the plans and these are things we want to do. And then they've got an outside consultant came in and he said, oh, wait, you guys are shooting for the moon. We need to shoot for the stars.
Mm-hmm.
So he asked us questions on what would you do shooting for the stars, farther out.
Mm-hmm.
The mark was one of them. One of the things that I shot back at shooting for the moon was if you guys are going to build all these trails like what they built up in Dove Mountain area and up above the Ritz, before the Ritz was even in there, we were working on trails and talking about building trails. And being the maintenance guy, I says, we don't have the funding to do trails. And they say, oh, no, we'll do that. I'll volunteer. But when you're done, somebody has to maintain that trail. That's what I'm here to fight. I want somebody, it is his job or that group's job that works for the town to maintain those trails.
Mm-hmm.
And it was probably 10 years ago. We had a guy they hired just to maintain the trails that had been built that took them years to build up in the Dove Mountain area.
Right.
And they had a guy that was his number one job. When he had any spare time, he could go help work with the rest of Parks and Rec. But his main job was to maintain those trails up. Over his time period there, he did. He was able to maintain it, train new guys to do what he'd been doing to do that. And now he's in other departments of the with the town. But it's thinking for the stars, shooting for the stars.
The forward thinkers, the visionaries. But we did a tour out there. I remember the date it opened. You know why I remember the date it opened, John? You know why I know? Your daughter, Heather, and Adam got married. I was so blessed to be a part of that.
We had so many things going on
and
at
my
that time.
granddaughter was born today. It's
during
May
the wedding.
3rd.
During the
wedding. It was May 3rd. I'll never forget the day that Mark
that
opened.
Was a busy
a glorious day. It was a busy day. I think back of that. See, that's a day I'm locked in, especially with the officer family on that day, because there was so many good things going. But I took a tour. I was blessed. Vice Mayor Roxanne Ziegler invited us, myself, my wife, David, Chris went. And that place is unbelievable. And I heard Terry a week or so ago, he was at the Marana Chamber of Commerce.
At the Chamber of Insights, Marana Insights?
The luncheon that they had.
The annual meeting.
At Highlands. And we went, and Terry did a little breakaway early, and he was talking about the numbers. I won't even try to throw the numbers out there, but they are staggering numbers of number of people. So May 3rd, May, June, July, we're not quite 4 months into this. How many members there are, paying members, how many visitors there have been. Why wouldn't you want to go?
Way over exceeded what we had planned.
Way more.
But we didn't build it for what we planned.
Yeah.
But what we were thinking would be able to go, and it way exceeded that.
Yeah, it's numbers. And I remember, and I'm so bad with names anymore, but the people that gave us, the two young men that gave us a tour, and they talked about, how they planned it in advance. They went to different towns and cities, and I think Gilbert was one of them, or Chandler, one of them. I don't remember exactly. And they went to different places. What would you do different? What would you do more of? And I'm telling you, you guys built pretty cool.
And the good thing we have of that is the relationship we have with the Marana School District.
Yeah.
And working with the kids that are in school are the athletic
Yeah,
ones, the ones
yeah.
that have games and stuff
Yeah.
and practices. You work it around that because we need lifeguards,
Yeah.
and it's amazing how many lifeguards you need just to run that facility for that part of
Right.
it. Just for the
Not to mention
recreational
the
part.
indoor basketball
the indoor
courts,
stuff and all of those.
the weight room, and we've got to go, but because we got Blair coming on, we're blaring out the Bible. Going to be here at 10:30, but I'm sure you felt this. I just wish Ed could have seen that.
Oh,
'Cause
he's
talked about that every time we drove by there, because we drove by there a lot to go to town hall, and I remember standing upstairs in the weight room on the walking track, because he talked about that track all the time. I'm going to walk that track, and I'm like, man, I wish he could have seen this. He would have been.
I've walked with him at least once a week,
Yeah.
regularly, and we'd walk that way.
And what would he
It
say?
was getting a little tough about walking across Sandaria Road, but walking with him and just walking around and seeing everything and just out for our walk was great.
Yeah.
And I never got tired. Now I live the same place, and by the time I walk down there, do a little bit of exercise, I don't want to walk back home. Come over and call my wife and come get me. No, I'll walk home. I'm in on exercise mode right now.
You walked 39 miles one day, John. You got this.
But Ed, he loved that. He was so proud of that thing coming in there that he was a great leader.
Yeah.
And this evening, I'm going to go see him and the state Parks and Rec conference up in Phoenix. And they're going to be giving him a award for his leadership in Parks and Rec and getting things going.
You know, one of the highlights of this year was when we all got invited to go to Phoenix, to the state capitol. Vince Leach gave Ed quite the memorial with his kids were there, and that was one of the highlights. I miss him every day, as I'm sure you do too. And great leader. But you know what? I want to end on this note. We continue. That's where I think Marana has excelled. We continue to just keep cranking out more leaders. John's doing a terrific job in the role of mayor. Everybody's doing a great job. Hey, one thing real quick. 26 is coming. You going to stay in the game, John?
I'm going to stay in the game. I'm going to give it another shot.
Good. We need you.
I'll be there.
We need you. We need you at least once more. We've talked about that a couple of times.
It keeps me busy, and
You're a good man. We're proud to have you as a friend. We're proud to have you on the council. Let's keep this thing going. It's been a good run.
I'm here for Marana.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Hey guys, thank you so much. As always, we appreciate you tuning in. We love Marana. We love Oro Valley. That's what this whole podcast is about. The Marana Oro Valley experience is about making both of these places just the best version of themselves that they can be. And remember, be nice to each other. It's just not that hard if you try. Have a great week.